Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking the whole concept of homemade to an entirely different, seriously rugged level. We're diving into this incredible process from the channel Wilderness Cooking, where we actually get to witness the creation of a lasagna completely from scratch right out in the middle of a mountain village. We are literally talking about raw nature being transformed into a structured culinary masterpiece. Let's jump right in.
Okay, let's dive into this. When you or I casually throw around the phrase from scratch, we usually just mean skipping the boxed pasta or leaving the pre-made jarred sauce at the grocery store. But what does it really take when your starting line isn't the supermarket aisle but the wilderness itself? Throughout this explainer, we're going to look at the immense ambition and raw survivalism required to build a complex, multi-layered dish directly from the raw resources of nature.
Which brings us right to Section 1, the handmade goat cheese. We're taking this from milking the goat all the way to coagulation.
We start at the crack of dawn with absolutely the most fundamental raw ingredient. Just imagine the totally visceral sensory experience of this moment, hand milking a goat directly into a fresh metal collection bowl. From there, the fresh dairy is poured right through a fine sieve to guarantee purity, landing straight into a heavy stock pot. But this isn't resting on some modern temperature-controlled stove where you just turn a dial. No way. This pot sits over a live, ignited, wood-fired hearth. The vital importance of loading the firewood and managing that open flame for exact heat control is quite literally the difference between perfectly warmed milk and a scorched ruin. It's cooking in its most primal elemental form.
Let's actually slow down for a second here to really appreciate the precise science of coagulation happening totally off the grid. First, the milk is gently heated over that live fire, being stirred continuously with just a simple wooden spoon. Once it hits that ideal warmth, cheese culture is carefully added. Then, the pot is completely insulated to retain that crucial, gentle heat. And that retained warmth is exactly what allows the culture to work its magic, setting the curds perfectly without shocking the delicate proteins.
Once those curds have successfully coagulated and set up, we move to separation. Look at the specific, beautiful rustic tools used here to execute this step. A gorgeous, hand-carved wooden fork is used to expertly cut the set curds, really breaking it apart. Then, those curds are gently ladled into a woven mesh basket. This incredibly simple yet highly effective setup allows gravity to just drain away all the liquid whey, finalizing our rich, handmade goat cheese. With our fresh cheese draining away, we shift into Section 2, crafting the beef ragu and creating that aromatic sauce base. Okay, the whole vibe here suddenly shifts into high gear. It gets so rhythmic and fast-paced. Prepping a rich, aromatic sauce over an open fire means you need a massive, hyper-precise vegetable mise en place. Now notice the sheer volume of knife work happening on that wooden cutting board. Yellow onions are rapidly and evenly diced with a large slicing knife, and fresh garlic cloves are finely minced. But check out the exceptionally clever technique used for the tomatoes. Instead of peeling them raw, they're scalded with boiling water first. This immediately loosens the skins, which allows them to be quickly peeled and chopped without losing any of the precious flesh inside.
And this brilliantly illustrates a fascinating timeline of flavor development right inside that heavy pot. It's like a perfectly calculated sequence of highly active sensory stages. First, butter is melted down to create a rich fat base. Then, the freshly chopped onions are tossed in to actively sweat in that hot butter, becoming intensely aromatic. Next, the ground minced beef goes in for browning, followed really closely by the minced garlic to quickly bloom and release its fragrant oils. Finally, those scalded, chopped tomatoes are folded in to create the beautiful, vibrant sauce base.
But to really elevate that foundational meat and tomato base, it needs true depth. And that's achieved by blending in a super rich tomato paste, which acts as a powerful amplifier, bringing deep umami straight to the pot. From there, it's meticulously seasoned with natural sea salt and freshly ground black pepper. These simple elements cut right through the richness and guarantee a perfectly balanced taste as the ragu simmers down.
All right, now we arrive at Section 3, fresh pasta and assembly. This is where we actually build our layers of flavor.
All of those individual, really hard-earned crafts are finally about to come together. Remember that handcrafted goat cheese we made from scratch back at dawn? Well, it's now freshly diced and completely transformed. Bright, fresh parsley is chopped and gently folded directly into the goat cheese. This creates a vibrant, creamy, herbaceous filling that's going to perfectly contrast the deep, heavy richness of our simmering beef ragu.
Meanwhile, the fresh pasta dough has been expertly prepped. And I gotta say, there is just an incredible visual satisfaction here, watching a fluted pastry wheel glide straight through that dough, cleanly cutting it into these wide, beautiful sheets. These freshly cut sheets provide the structural foundation for the whole dish, and they're now ready to be arranged evenly right in our baking tray.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is the striking contrast between where we started and where we're at right now. On one side, we began with literally nothing but rugged, raw wilderness elements. Raw goat milk in a bowl, an open wood fire, whole unpeeled vegetables, and raw ground beef. But through incredible patience and refined culinary technique, this has been transformed into architectural precision. We now have perfectly even, structured pasta sheets, a deeply complex simmered ragu, and a delicate herb cheese filling.
All of this meticulous construction leads us right to Section 4, the final wilderness bake, where we achieve wood-fired perfection. The layers of fresh pasta, beef ragu, and that creamy filling have been perfectly and evenly spooned into the baking tray. But, it needs one final, totally essential finishing touch. A generous topping of grated hard cheese is rained down all over the assembled pasta to create this protective golden layer. Then comes the real moment of truth. The heavy, assembled tray is lifted up and pushed deep into an intensely hot, wood-fired oven to bake. Now for the absolute ultimate culinary payoff. The heavy tray is lifted away from the heat, the cheese on top is just bubbling away, the edges are perfectly caramelized, and the crust is completely golden. As the knife slices down into the bake, it leaves behind these clean, perfect squares that showcase every single distinct, handcrafted layer. It is the sheer beauty of traditional slow food, fully realized right there in a mountain village.
Seeing this whole process from start to finish leaves us with a truly fascinating question. We've literally just watched a single meal built entirely from raw nature, from milking the goat at the break of dawn to carefully managing the wood fires to pulling a perfectly structured lasagna from the oven. So, how does witnessing the true, unvarnished cost of time and effort change your appreciation for everyday convenience food? Suddenly getting impatient staring at a 2-minute microwave timer feels a little bit silly, doesn't it? It really forces us to reflect on our own patience, our relationship with our ingredients, and the lost art of true cooking.